I'm on a little bit of a win streak, so you guys will need to keep me honest if I go completely off track. But I did say last week that the volatility would become lower, less. We would have uh, much less volatility in the markets. The bonds are coming down, although this morning not so much. They're kind of edging up a little bit. Tesla, I said, would also be less volatile, but would move up towards earnings. Gary Black this morning thinks it'll move down towards earnings. Well, it could. It's anything's possible. My thinking is it'll be just continue to move slightly up as we get closer to earnings. So what about the actual news, Randy? Well, okay, let's get into the actual news. Sawyer Merritt has this exciting news, something I've been talking about since I wrote the book, The Elon Musk Mission. 5 years after debuting Indiana's first Tesla police car, the Bargersville Police Department says it has saved them nearly $500,000 in maintenance and repairs. Police Chief Bertram said nothing has changed the department's commitment to their Teslas. I couldn't even begin to say how much money the department has saved. Since 2020, I'd say we've been saving about $70,000 to $80,000 a year from having their police cars. From having, how many do they have? Let's see, from having our vehicles. And the more cars we get, the more savings. The department, which has 16 officers, started with one Tesla and has added another dozen. Bertram's remember he's getting a monthly gas bill in June 2024 that was more than $3,000 for 4 Ford gas cars. That same month, he said it cost $300 to charge all 13 electric vehicles. The police chief also said they've never had to replace any brakes on the Teslas. The repair on gas cars can run between $1,200 and $1,500. He said the department hasn't experienced any issues or concerns with the electric cars, except one that needed to have the battery pack changed. Even as robo-taxis take over, police departments are going to need police cars. Do you ever think about that? In the future world, we talk about, will we be 100% cyber cabs and robo-taxis? And I've said, no, there'll still be lots of situations where people are going to want vehicles. I'm thinking it probably is going to, it's just like out of the air like this, like maybe 30% of the cars on the roads will still have somebody in the driver's seat, even though it may be driving itself, but they'll own the car. But police cars and cars like that, emergency vehicles, probably are not going to be, folks are not going to be calling a cyber cab to use it as an ambulance, if you know what I mean. All right. So it's a category, it's an area where I've been talking about for many, many years. I don't understand why the police cars are not all Teslas at this point. It just makes too much sense. I know it's too much of an advantage over the criminals, right? To have a car that fast. Gary Black this morning says that Tesla China reported 5,400 insured registrations for the week of April 7 to 13. Through 2 weeks, second quarter is down 32% quarter over quarter, but plus 11% year over year. So of course, the first 2 weeks of any quarter generally are huge on the exports, and so therefore we don't really learn much until much later in the quarter about how things are going in China. My guess is they're selling like crazy. This is Randy Kirk. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit notify, join Patreon, join the YouTube if you'd like. Support the channel. All of those ways are ways you can support the channel. I did get an order yesterday for another Cybertruck, so you can send those in as well. Tariff turmoil, it says here. Will it mark the end of a 3-year rolling recession? This is Cathie Wood, she says this morning. While many observers fear that the Trump tariff policy is a recipe for economic and geopolitical disaster, we believe that what looked at first glance like the largest and most regressive tax increase in U.S. history could turn out to be quite the opposite. Well, now then, President Trump has asked Treasury Secretary Bessent to take the lead instead of Peter Navarro and Howard Lutnick, who were apparently leading in various ways, in what seemed to be a chaotic situation based on incomprehensible reciprocity calculations. this could have been a setup. Oh, really? Premeditated or otherwise? No, it was absolutely premeditated. So now the negotiations are getting serious, and this is going to lead to lower tariffs and non-tariff barriers. Yes, that's true. Neither of which would have been possible without the shock therapy that President Trump administered. That's my feeling. Kathy and I share that. Still influential in the Trump administration, Elon Musk has been a strong advocate for this solution to tariff and non-tariff trade barriers that have evolved over the last 50 years. In other words, Elon Musk has been an advocate for not as big a tariffs, and obviously me too. I don't think it would be smart to have 25% tariffs on cars or 40% tariffs on Chinese goods. I think somewhere in the 10 to 20% is probably about right. Compared to what they were. During the past week of extreme volatility in the stock and bond markets, our working assumption was that President Trump has been aiming for robust economic growth and a strong stock market during the second half of this year in 2020 and into 2026 ahead of the midterm elections. How many times this week did he mention that the economy and stock market are going to boom? If you listen to my video last night, the third video of the day at 7:45, that video was talking exactly about this. Even before the tariff controversy, we had been expecting strong growth to begin sometime in the second half because we do believe that it's the last leg of a 3-year rolling recession will result in negative gross domestic product in the first and second quarters. Yes, this is exactly right. It could be the first quarter. I think the first quarter, it might be, but it might be an asterisk. We've talked about that before. The asterisk would be that because of dramatic pull forward on imports, we might get into negative territory because of that. But I think the second quarter will definitely be negative GDP. Third quarter, not. I haven't really been able to wrap my arms around that yet. During the past 3 years, as one cohort of the economy after another capitulated to the interest rate shock that started in 22, high-end consumers and the government propped the GDP up. Again, if you follow Larry and me, following Kathy, you know that we're in complete accord with her that we've had a divided economy. 4 areas of the economy have been in recession for 3 years. Housing and transportation and small business, et cetera, have been in recession, and people under $100,000 have been cooked, just destroyed by this last 4 years of the Biden administration. As a result, the administration and the Federal Reserve will have more degrees of freedom to stimulate than most investors have been expecting. Now that much of the economy has seized up in response to the fear of tariffs, the drop in activity is likely to be more severe than otherwise would have been the case. A clarion call for tax cuts, deregulation, and lower interest rates. Phase 2, if you like. That's phase 2. Shock and awe. Create some. What would you call it? Well, you're shaking up the entire world economy and the entire U.S. economy and the whole DOGE thing where you're reducing government spending. All of that is the shock and awe part. And then slowly you start to rebuild the economy in the new way. According to Jessalyn Fields, Fields, Jessalan Fields, America is healing. Latest Harvard-Harris poll shows overwhelming support for the Trump policies. 74% are for departing illegals. 70% are for closing the border. 69% are for DOGE. 65% want to ban trans men from girls' sports. 57% are for ending foreign aid. 57% are for reciprocal tariffs, and 53% for Alaska drilling. I'm sure you can find a few things that maybe people aren't for, but there's 7 things. Is that 7, 8 things that the American people are for? So U.S. import, this is the report today on import prices. U.S. import prices decreased by 0.1% in March, falling by 0.2%. I'm sorry, yes, 0.2%. After falling, I'm sorry. Can I start over? Would you give me permission to start over? U.S. import prices decreased by 0.1% in March after 0.2% increase in February. This was actually expected. This 1.1% decrease was exactly what people thought. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported today that lower prices for fuel imports more than offset higher prices for non-fuel imports in March. Prices for U.S. exports was unchanged for March after rising 0.5% the previous month. And that was also exactly what was expected. Prices for non-fuel imports increased 0.1% for the second consecutive month. Non-fuel import prices have not declined on a monthly basis since a 0.2% drop in May of last year. Higher prices for capital goods, for non-fuel industrial supplies and materials, and foods, feeds, and beverages more than offset lower prices for consumer goods and automotive vehicles. The price index for non-fuel imports advanced 1.5 for the year ended in March. Then you get into the New York, the Empire State Manufacturing Report. Business activity declined modestly in New York State for April, according to the firms that were responding to their survey. After dropping steeply last month, it's recovered. And the headline General Business Conditions Index rose 12 points, but remained below zero at negative 8.1. New orders fell modestly. Shipments edged lower. Firms expected conditions to worsen in the months ahead, a level of pessimism that has only occurred a handful of times in the history of the survey. The index for future general business conditions fell 20 points to a negative 7.4. And the index has fallen a cumulative 44 points over the last 3 months. All right, so please understand, they shot up like crazy after Trump was elected, and they have been coming back down. So you have that much of a shoot up, then it's not you need to include that in your analysis, not just say, boy, they're dropping like a rock. Well, they're dropping like a rock because what we just talked about, the shock and awe, the uncertainty index, as you know. So earnings so far are coming in very strong, it says, but little guidance of note. I'm sorry, that was me. This is a mistake number 2 this morning. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Okay, so I checked out the earnings. Bank of America, we had Johnson & Johnson. The earnings coming in this morning were actually very good, excellent, positive, but not much guidance, at least that I could find so far without reading all the details of every earnings report. But the Grok said that there wasn't much guidance in those earnings reports. And this is what everybody expected, was that because of the uncertainty, that guidance might be pulled or be thin, if you will. And so the uncertainty index is still up there. The VIX is at 28%. You'll remember kind of a normal numbers around 12%, 13%. That's when things are kind of okay. But 28% is way down from the 53% of just a few weeks ago. Now, this is breaking this morning. Mario Nawfal says that Trump has hit a record high approval, even with all the tariff turmoil. Tariffs up, tariffs down, doesn't matter. Even after last week's whiplash of the Liberation Day tariffs, voters aren't punishing him. In fact, they're rewarding him for moving fast and shaking things up with a 54% approval rating, tying his all-time high. Young voters, 18 to 29, loved him the most, giving him a 64% approval, holding strong with independents at 48% and crushing it among Republicans at 94%. Notice they don't give the Democrat approval rating. Trump's chaotic style, voters see it as action and they're backing him. So we're enjoying it, like as I've said many times in the last 2 or 3 months, it's like better than television. All right, so what is the impact on the stock market? Well, as mentioned earlier, the stock market is up slightly. It is not nearly as volatile. It was a little tiny bit down going into the opening this morning. It is a little bit up and mixed as we go further, as we move along, coming down from where it was earlier. So the Dow is now only up 0.03%. The NASDAQ is down 0.07%, and the S&P is down, is up 0.06%. Tesla, which was up nicely a little while ago, well, up like a point and a half, is still up 0.71, but definitely trending down. Everything is trending down at this point, but again, this is not radical. It's all kind of around the zero mark. Most of the Mag 7 is down right around 1%. Except for NVIDIA, which is up slightly, still up, although down from where it was, up 0.09%. We've got the Cathie Woods. Whoops. The Cathie Woods are mixed as well. Same kind of thing, all mixed, as much red as green. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the bonds. Let's go over here. All right, so we've got oh, good. The bonds had been up a little bit earlier. So the yields are coming down 0.8%. We're now at 4.35. You know where I want them to be. I'm looking for that 3 handle. So we need to move a lot faster if we're going to get to a 3 handle anytime soon. All right, the 2-year is down 0.6%, and the 2-month down 0.3%. So that's a good report. Let's go to the oil. The oil situation is, again, very narrow trading. We're talking about 10 cents up at 61.63. Brent is still up 3.5, around where it's been. And the natural gas is down this morning, down almost a full percent at $3.29. That's starting to move closer and closer to that kind of $3 level. We have gold up 12.90 this morning at 3,239, below its all-time high. Silver up a little bit, 0.18%, $32.22. And copper down a little bit at 0.37% down, $4.60, right in the middle of its recent range. Dollar is up this morning, and Bitcoin is up this morning, but only $27 at 85,000 though. That's a fairly decent number in terms of recent numbers for Bitcoin. Okay, so yeah, all of that said, a flat market. Now it's a 4-day week. There's not a lot of news this week. There's no CPI or PPI or labor numbers or Fed decisions. So it's one of those weeks where there's not a lot of business news. Of course, for us, next week is the big business news. Also, a lot of big earnings numbers coming in next week. So I continue to think that this week will be kind of so-so, just not a lot of activity, not a lot of action. And I do believe that Tesla will continue to move up slightly, not a ton, just kind of slowly towards earnings. Okay, let's see. We've got, this is Tuesday. I don't know what's going to happen tonight. I have no idea. I mean, I'm almost 100% sure you'll have Nicholas Gibbs on later today, but I don't know what's going to happen after that. It could be Brian Wang. It could be Brian White. It could be me again. I don't know. I've got Brian White is traveling. He's over in China, and we're having trouble figuring out when to record. Brian Wang has been extremely busy. So anyway, we'll see what happens in terms of who is on at the 7:45 hour tonight, but it will be terrific, whoever it is. Now, talking about terrific, man, last night, Larry Goldberg and I, we had a great time. I don't know if you guys liked it as much as we did. I mean, it got huge numbers, but we had a great time. And then my late show that unfortunately did not include Brian White also got huge numbers. I'll put both of those cards up, I think, and both of them are still extremely pertinent. Larry and I spent a lot of time talking about this regulation thing yesterday. What President Trump did with regard to regulation change was just earth-shattering. It's not hitting the news today because I think most people just don't get it. But he said, look, we're going to go and we're going to rip out all regulation that is hurting the economy that we can possibly rip out. Just like go through it. He wants every department, every cabinet department, go through and just, no, not 10-1, not 12-1, not 12, eliminate 10 regulations for every one you put in. No, just start ripping out everything that you possibly think that you can rip out that is getting in the way of businesses, business formation. This is an earth change and earth shattering, apocalyptic. It's amazing. Anyway, it's a very exciting. Larry and I spent a lot of time talking about that. Anyway, I'll put both cards up. Please hit like, subscribe, notify, all that jazz. And yeah, that's all I got for you right now. It's been great. Oh, you want one more time on Tesla just to see if it's continuing down or maybe if it's going, see, it's going back up. It's almost back up a full percent. NASDAQ is back in the green. Overall, everybody has now hit kind of a dip. So I think, yeah, this is what it's going to be. Narrow range trading. That's what it's going to be. I think. Could change. It's been great talking to you.